This video is about replacing a fresh air or recirculation door regulator on a 2001 Silverado. And there's the part number for the new regulator that I bought. I'll put a link in the description of where I bought it on eBay. It's a 3-pin. The blend door has 5 pins. This is a 3-pin for the recirculation door regulator. If you like this video, please click the like button or the subscribe button, because right now my videos have to be less than 15 minutes, and that doesn't allow me to put a lot of detail in there. I'll put some other links in the description that will help you do this type of work. Okay, so I'm trying to replace my recirculation door regulator, and I've decided that I'm going to try to do it through this airbag opening here. And one of the first things you got to do is free up the glove box, and you just push this little knob in right there and it'll slip down. And then you take these vents out, which come out pretty easily. I have a little tool here that I just stuck in the side there and pushed them out, and then they just pull out. But then there's two 10mm bolts that you got to get to, which is not that easy. That fasten this airbag on. I've got my middle finger on the hole. So if I've taken the 10mm bolt out, and I've got my middle finger on it, on the hole right now. And it's about the same thing from the other side. So if I take my middle finger, and right there, I've got my finger on the hole that the 10mm bolt came out of. And there's the two bolts right there that I took out. Now the next two I've got to take out are going to be a little easier to get to, I think. Okay, so now the flash is on, and you can see that. Okay, if I go in right here like this with my camera, and you can see that bolt right there, that's a 10mm bolt that's holding this black thing that I got my other finger on. That's the airbag. So I take that 10mm bolt out, and then go over to the other side, and you can see where the glove box opens, and there's the little post right here. This is, by the way, is a 2001 Silverado, and there's the other 10mm bolt. So I'm going to take those two out and then see if I can't get this airbag out. Okay, so I've gotten all 4 of those 10mm bolts out that I showed you. I got the airbag out. Getting this undone was quite a little chore, but I finally got it undone. And of course that plugs in right there to that plug right there. And now when I turn my key on, you can see I have the recirculation button pushed. If I turn it off, you're going to hear this thing start making that noise here in a minute. Okay, that's the recirculation air door right there. And you can see it kind of jumping. So that's what's making the noise. So I am assuming that it's that regulator right there. You can see it. So here's a still picture of the recirculation door or fresh air door. The regulator, you see the arrow pointing to it. It's got a little paper label on it. And then there's the regulator wires, which are green and brown. There, you can see it. So now the trick is to get that regulator out and replace it with the new one. So I'm going to stop the video now and go back to work. Okay, so what we're looking at here is the dash has been removed on my Silverado. It turns out that there's just not enough room to get that regulator out unless you raise up a duct. There's a duct. I'm going to show you here in just a minute. Okay, I've resumed the video and I'm going to put my hand on that duct. That's the duct right there that you've got to raise up. Okay, and I paused it again because we're looking through the airbag regulator opening, and you see that yellow electrical connector back there. That's what the airbag was attached to. And so you're going to want to put the 2x4 on the far left hand side there and lift up that duct. You've got to unfasten the duct from the vent over on the far right side near the passenger door. There's a 7mm bolt you have to take out to free up to free up the duct from the vent. And then there's also a 7mm bolt that you have to remove just from the vent on the left hand side of the glove box. You get those two 7mm bolts removed, and then the duct is pretty much freed up so that you can lift it up a little bit. And I'm going to resume the video here and show you the 2x4 that I used. That's the piece of 2x4 I used, and a couple of shims. That's how much I raised up that duct. And right there's where the 7mm bolt goes in. Okay, so once you raised up that duct, then you have just enough room to get your hand in there and remove that regulator. There's a couple other videos on YouTube where they actually cut the duct. And that may be the easiest way to actually do this job. To cut that duct and get it out of the way, replace your regulators, and then put the duct back in and retape it with some duct tape. I didn't do that. I raised it up and I went through the nightmare of just barely having enough room to put my hand and my tools back there and remove that regulator. I can tell you right now, it's not an easy job to do, but I was able to do it without cutting the duct. So these are the tools that I used in that small opening to get my old regulator out. This is my old regulator. And like I said, it may be easier just to cut that duct. Get that duct entirely out of your way. Put your new regulator in, test it, then put your duct back in and tape it back together. But I didn't do that. I didn't cut the duct. I went through the nightmare trying to do it this way. So you're going to need a 1/4 inch drive ratchet, a small extension, and then your socket, a 7/32 or a 5.5mm. I'm going to pause it for just a second. Okay, so I got the small extension and my 7/32 socket on there, and you're going to have a bolt down here in this round circle, and you're going to have a bolt up here in this slotted hole. There's no bolt here. So your electrical connection is there. You're going to take that off first and get it out of the way because it's right in the way for doing this lower bolt. So it's going to be, your regulator is going to be oriented just like that. So when you're looking in there, it's going to look just like that. And you're going to need to put this socket onto the bolt head. And once you have it on there, I had a hard time trying to do the ratchet, and so I had to put it on there first and then put the ratchet on. And you want to have this where it's ready to turn counterclockwise so that you can loosen that bolt head. Once you get it loosened, you're going to find that you can't do it anymore with the ratchet because the ratchet just kind of turns. So you're going to take the ratchet back off and try to turn this by hand. I couldn't turn it by hand because this is very slick, and there's nothing really to grab a hold of, and your bolt still has some resistance. So what I did was I had this. This is a 1/2 inch. I'm going to pause it. So this is for an impact wrench, and it's flexible. But the thing is, you can grab a hold of it. It's not slick. You can grab your fingers right there. You can get a good hold of it, or right here. And so this is a 1/2 inch, and I used a 1/2 inch to a 3/8 inch adapter, and then from a 3/8 to a 1/4 inch. And then I was able to put my my socket on that 1/4 inch. I'm going to pause it again. So there that tool is all together. The 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch to 3/8, 3/8 to a 1/4, and then my socket. And what I was able to do was put the new regulator in, and then put the bolt inside this, and then put it in there until I felt it go in the hole, and then start tightening it. And I didn't tighten it very much. Well, actually I did. I tightened it too much, and then I couldn't catch the threads on the other one because it was cockeyed. So you're only going to put it in for a certain distance, and then you're going to put your other one in, and you're going to go back and forth and try to tighten them evenly, somewhat evenly. And once you get it to the point that it's totally hand tight and you can't tighten it anymore, then you're going to go back to your ratchet. I'm going to put it on pause. So you're going to go back to your ratchet, and you've got those screws on there pretty tight, and hand tight, as tight as you can get them. Now you got this thing set up so that you can tighten those, and you go clockwise and just tighten them as tight as you can get them, and you're done. You're ready to test it. So now you can put your electrical connection back on, turn your key on, make sure that your door is opening and closing and not making any noise. You're lucky like me, everything worked like a charm after that. Finally got it together. Now, okay, key is on. The door is shut. If I push the recirculation button, recirculation is working. If I close it, here we go. Please, no noise, please. Okay, it's shut with no noise. I push the recirculation button again. It's opening. Okay. So before, I figured if I had to use defrost, it wasn't going to work. So there we go. We go to defrost. The recirculation button comes off, and the door is shutting. It did shut. Okay. And it's not jumping all over the place and popping. So what else? I know when I was pushing this before, yeah, same thing. It isn't going to open. It's not supposed to open, I guess. Okay, so if I put it over here, then push the recirculation button came on itself. And there's the door opening. Defrost, recirculation button goes off. Door is shutting. And it shuts just fine. Oh, great. Okay, put everything back together. Oh my God, what a job.